let's at least show everybody exactly what Let's Go Brandon really means. So,
okay, this is a good Let's Go Brandon. This is an actual Brandon.
Here's to the new mayor of the third largest city in the United States, Chicago.
And let's hope that this works out better than the last time, because she was supposed to be progressive, quote unquote, too.
Lori? No.
Yes. Well, again, I'm saying.
Big difference here.
And I love how they keep calling him a Marxist. So I didn't really know much about him, but now I like him even more.
I got to say it. Well, here's Brandon. Well, Chicago, we did it, y'all. They said that this would never happen. You know, a few months ago, they said they didn't know who I was. Well, if you didn't know, now you know. But guess what we get to do now, y'all? We get to turn the page of the politics of old. Because with our voices and our votes, we've come together as one city to say that we deserve a Chicago that is better, stronger, safer for everyone. No matter where you live, no matter what you look like, you deserve to have a better, stronger, safer Chicago. A city where you can thrive regardless of who you love or how much money you have in your bank account. A city that respects the workers who keep it running, that actually values them by building new affordable housing, and where the public schools are fully resourced. You deserve it, Chicago. You know
I think he's going to
for Chicago.
I think he's going to be very good. Of
Let's
course,
see.
Jen went to Northwestern, so Chicago did choose wisely, Robert. It's a very good, it's a great result. And of course, Bernie Sanders held a mega rally. I think like 5,000 people showed up or something like that. Bernie's not even running for anything. But Bernie Sanders showed up in Chicago, and we went to, I think, the University of Chicago's basketball stadium, and we had all the people come inside, and it was wonderful. And they were there to support Let's Go Brandon.
I don't know much about it because I generally don't involve myself in mayoral races in states that are not even anywhere near me, but it was nice to see this as a win.
I'm gonna say this, and I do support law enforcement. I have to tell you, these threats of 1,000 cops walking off the job, let them. It's a really nice career. Let me assure you, especially a Chicago City cop, the type of benefits that you get, the salary that you get, the perks that you get, they're not walking away from the job. They may say that they're going to do that, but they're not going to do that.
So this was a case, from my understanding, that basically, as far as the unions go, was the teachers union versus the Fraternal Order of Police. And the FOP lost, and they're probably sour grapes and licking their wounds and not happy about it. Mostly when I see people, and this does tend to come from the right, throwing around the crime, the fear, the statistics, the numbers, all of that. It goes back to me. It harkens back to with Joe Biden, the crime bill, and Hillary Clinton, super predators. Crime actually has statistically been going down over the years. It has. Now, I do know that we have seen an upsurge in certain places, and I do think that for the most part, it has to do with desperation and poverty.
100%.
And so what we're looking at is a socioeconomic issue more so than an actual crime wave issue, because that's the kind of thing that we're going to have to solve first before we're going to deal with the crime. But the cops threatening to walk off, it's like, have you ever heard of police or firefighters threatening to walk off of a job?
No.
Exactly.
Well, because
I'll use any opportunity to kudos to my firefighters.
Well, Jen loves Chicago Fire.
I love Chicago Fire.
So one thing I will say that you guys have to remember is very important here about this. There is no place in the United States of America than the south side of Chicago that has a bigger problem than with gangland violence. There is no place worse.
It's bad.
And it's been that way for not years, not decades, generations. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
You would think
Chicago's
that
bloody.
you can put as many cops on the street as possible. I have a feeling that if you changed the economic infrastructure of the city of Chicago so that not everything goes to the Gold Coast, that it might actually trickle its way down to southeast and southwest sides of Chicago, where the majority of the population of the city lives, that might actually help. That's what's going to make the difference.
But more
cops.
No. Well, this is what's so interesting, where people talk about, we are the most policed country in terms of that's like a free nation, basically the most policed and militarized nation in the world.
It's not going to stop the crime.
And we're still not safe enough. So at what point do we realize that more policing isn't the solution? I'm not suggesting that we don't have crime and that it isn't a problem. I'm just suggesting that you're losing the causal link to what that solution is. It's not more policing.
Let's see what happens with Mayor Johnson if he is going to have an initiative that is going to focus predominantly on improving the education system in the city, where a lot of these gangland problems start from. If the Chicago public schools are not being treated or not being funded properly,
which I'm sure they're not, because they're really not anywhere. So why would they be different there?
Well, that's where a non-corporate, non-in bed with developers, Lori Lightfoot said she was going to do one thing, but we all know that most of what she was voted in on was the backs of the white suburbanites who were comfortable with this woke idea of having a gay Black woman as their mayor.
Even though she's just a neolib, right?
Like just disastrous as anybody. And I will say this, there's a lot of things that she handled badly, but I will tell you, her handling of the Jussie Smollett case, that was so bad on so many levels. That's where racial division stems from. It stems from things like that. When it was so obvious on the surface what Jussie Smollett was doing, and yet they wanted to carry this shit on like it was, no, he really did it. No. You got caught with your hand in the cookie jar. He was a lying sack of you-know-what from the jump. It was so obvious. And yet she's doing press conferences talking about how everyone's a racist, everyone's a bigot, Jussie Smollett is oppressed. And let me tell you, that's what gets people divided in the worst kind of way. And let's not even get started on what she did economically, because it was a disaster.
That would be my primary question. And I don't know the answer. I don't know her numbers in terms of what she's done for her people. But the question would be for me is, are the people within her jurisdiction of where she serves better off than they were before her? And what has she done to make them so? That's all I would actually concern myself with.
Much like Smelly Kelly in Wisconsin, claiming that Janet P. is not worthy of his concession. Let me assure you, Lori Lightfoot essentially did the same thing when she lost her primary and said that against a Black candidate who did better than she did, that they're just racist and they're just sexist and blah, 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 blah. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Same to Smelly Kelly in Wisconsin. The non-corporate public servants of this country, stand up, because that's how we're going to save ourselves.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.